Look at him, eating whatever he wants, never gaining a pound, while I'm stuck with the boring special and can't lose an ounce.
How's your lunch, man?
Amazing. Yours?
So good.
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Cool, buddy.
Weight loss isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that can fix your frustration with food.
So, same time next week?
No!
Definitely.
And your friends. Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised. My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today, I'm discussing the case of Alonzo Brooks. In April 2004, 23-year-old Alonzo made a decision that he could have never anticipated would result in his murder. He just wanted to go to a party with some of his friends. But when he didn't return home the next morning, the rumors were already swirling about what may have happened to Alonzo in the small town of Cygne, Kansas that night. Over 20 years later, Alonzo's case has been riddled with misinformation, conflicting stories about what happened that night, and missteps by law enforcement. This is the case of Alonzo Brooks. Alonzo comes from a very large blended family. In addition to his siblings and step-siblings, he also had 18 nieces and nephews, and many aunts, uncles, and cousins. But Alonzo is really treated as the baby because he's the youngest of his mother's biological children. He grew up mainly in Topeka, Kansas, where he had a tight-knit group of friends, where they did what a lot of us did growing up in the late 90s. They played outside. They listened to music, played basketball, and enjoyed competitive games of King of the Hill. After high school, Alonzo moved about an hour away to Gardner, Kansas with his mom and I assume his stepfather Stuart. But I couldn't find reporting to confirm that. Alonzo soon gets a job working for a janitorial and maintenance service. Now, despite this being quite a culture jump from living in the capital of Kansas versus Gardner with a fraction of the population, Alonzo seems happy and develops a new group of friends in town. It's this group of friends that he meets with on the night of April 3rd, 2004. They decide to go to a party in an even smaller town, Cygne, Kansas. Now, a variety of reporting on this case says that the whole reason either this party was happening or that Alonzo went out at all was to celebrate somebody leaving for the military. I found reporting that says Alonzo's friend Justin had recently enlisted, but I never found definitive reporting about who they were celebrating that night or why it was happening in Cygne. Other people have said the party was a last hurrah after the 4 men renting the home were evicted. I warned you that this case is filled with conflicting stories. So for some reason that's not exactly agreed upon across reporting, Alonzo and his friends decide to go to this party over an hour away in Cygne. And this is a big group, so they end up splitting between at least 3 vehicles. Alonzo's friend Daniel Foon is in one car with someone named Nikki. Tyler Bohard is in another vehicle, and Alonzo is driven to the party by his friend Justin Sprague. They make the about an hour drive to the middle of nowhere to get to Cygne. And this is a teeny tiny town with about 1,100 residents in 2004. They're so small they don't even have a grocery store, just a gas station. And while the party house is off the freeway, it's not a highly populated or big freeway. It basically looks like any 2-lane residential street. Again, just a very remote area. But Alonzo and his friends all make their way to the party. And when Alonzo gets there, he's ready to have a good time. He gets out of the car and yells, "Who wants a beer?" One thing I think all of his friends do agree on is that Alonzo was having a great time. This party was huge. It's kind of like this older farmhouse, but it's on this huge property with trees, this long driveway, and it has its own creek. It's like a party paradise. There's lots of room to move around and space to be loud without disrupting anybody. It's a rager. Some have estimated that there were up to 200 people at this party. But most law enforcement sources say it was closer to 100, which is still insane. That's like 1/10 of the population of the entire town of Cygne. Which, according to Alonzo's friends, they really were the out-of-towners at the party, and estimate that only 6 to 8 people were from Gardner. So while they are all having a good time drinking, playing games, and just partying, they are surrounded by strangers. But again, it does seem like they're all having a good time. It's mostly younger people like Alonzo and his friends, with the oldest person maybe being in their mid to late 20s at best. About an hour into the party, Daniel sees Alonzo playing a game in the kitchen, and they take some shots of Jaeger together. At some point, Daniel sees somebody that he wants to say hello to and gets up to do that. But when he turns around, he sees Alonzo face to face with another man. They're obviously about to get in some type of fight, so Daniel steps in and breaks it up. And you're probably asking what I'm asking right now. Who is this man that was trying to fight with Alonzo? Well, we don't know, even to this day. But Daniel breaks it up, and the party seemingly continues without issue. Not long after this, Nikki gets a call about another party and wants to leave to go there. So since that's Daniel's ride, he tells Alonzo that he's going to the other party and says goodbye. Shortly after this, Tyler also leaves at about 11 p.m. That leaves Justin and Alonzo at the party. But according to Justin, at some point he runs out of cigarettes and asks Alonzo to bum one, but he's out too. So Justin and another friend who has not been named decide to make a run to get more. But Justin says that while he was leaving the party, he makes a wrong turn out of the driveway and ends up about 30 minutes north of his intended destination where his car gets stuck. But he knows that Alonzo is stuck at this party without a ride home, so he connects with his friend Adam, who is still at the party. He explains that he got stuck and asks him to give Alonzo a ride back to Gardner. Now, in his interview with Unsolved Mysteries, Justin says that he can actually hear Alonzo in the background of this call, basically making fun of him for getting stuck. So according to Justin, after he leaves, Alonzo is still at the party and fine. Unfortunately, we know less about Alonzo's night, because unlike the other 99 or so people at that party, he's the only one who doesn't make it home. This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together, and Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it. They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse, so I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. for me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. On the morning of Sunday, April 4th, 2004, the landline rings at Alonzo's home. His mother, Maria Ramirez, answers. On the other line is one of Alonzo's friends asking if he's home. She says he should be and calls out for him, but there's no answer. She checks his room, which it looks like he had not been there. The bed is made. She checks the basement, but Alonzo's not home. And she already knows that something is off and is not happy about it. She gets back to the phone and tells this friend that he isn't here, and then asks, where is he? The friend suggests that maybe Alonzo spent the night at someone's house. But Maria knows that this just isn't something he usually did, and Daniel would later confirm that in an interview as well. Alonzo always came home. So Maria gets right to work. She tells this friend that they need to start calling around and figure out where her son is right now. And she does the same. Everyone really just starts calling each other at this point, asking what happened at that party. Where is Alonzo? Justin confirms that he was under the impression that Adam was going to give Alonzo a ride home. But after he connected with Adam, it turns out that for some unknown reason, that never happened. Adam left without Alonzo, and now no one knows where he is. In addition to the people local to Gardner, Maria calls Alonzo's friend Rodney English, who grew up with him back in Topeka. He didn't go to the party, but she figures that maybe Alonzo somehow ended up with him or contacted him. And like Maria, Rodney already knows that there is something really wrong here. And he's upset that his friends left him at this party in this super small town about an hour away from home. So Rodney makes the trip to Gardner, then gets with Alonzo's friends to go to Lacine to look for Alonzo. He ends up riding with Justin. This is the first time they'd ever met. Of course, they fear the worst at this point, but are hoping for the best. Maybe Alonzo just got drunk and fell asleep somewhere on the property after being stranded. They get to the party house and just start walking the property. At first, they come up with nothing. But as Rodney starts walking down the long gravel driveway, he sees something on the other side of the road. It's Alonzo's beanie and one of his boots, just out in the open. Then they find Alonzo's other boot near the creek on the property. Rodney says it looks like someone turned out of the driveway and threw Alonzo's hat and boot out one window, drove maybe a few hundred feet, and then threw the other boot out of the opposite window. But they don't really get a lot of time to scope out this area, because shortly after this, a man on a four-wheeler comes kind of out of nowhere and tells them that they need to leave right now. So they do. Again, Rodney's upset. He confronts Justin and asks how he could leave him at this party alone. He says that's not what friends do. And everyone's fears only got worse when they started hearing more about the party. It turns out that Alonzo was one of only 3 black people there. And a lot of people were talking about how Alonzo had gotten in an altercation, and that people at this party were using slurs against him. The most prevalent of these rumors appears to be that Alonzo may have flirted with a white woman, and that upset many of the white men at the party. After this, Maria Ramirez marches right down to the sheriff's office to file a missing persons report, and they tell her that she has to wait 48 hours. But Maria is our hero in this story, and she says absolutely not. I'm telling you and reporting it right now that he's missing. Now, I don't know if they actually filed a report at that time. It doesn't seem like it. But I'm glad that she pushed back. She knew something was wrong and wasn't going to listen to their assumptions that he was probably just walking around barefoot somewhere an hour away from home. The next day, Monday, April 5th, Alonzo's brother Billy and his wife Cindy make a trip to the party house to see what's going on for themselves. And they actually get in contact with the owner of the property, who says it was supposed to be empty. which I think does lead some credence to the idea that this party may have been out of spite for being evicted, but that's still unclear. Either way, Cindy peeks into the windows, and she's pretty shocked to see that the house is basically empty. She says it did not look like a house that just had 100 drunk teenagers and 20-somethings partying in it less than 48 hours earlier. So Billy and Cindy go down to the sheriff's office too. They want to reiterate how serious this situation is. And Linn County Sheriff Marvin Stites says that he's sure Alonzo will turn up. He's probably just walking around out there somewhere. And I really do love this whole family because Cindy pushes back. She asks, who do you know that's out there walking around with no shoes on, especially after it just rained? But the sheriff's office still really isn't taking it seriously, and their only choice is to hope that law enforcement comes around. And Linn County Sheriff's Office had Alonzo's case for about a day before the Kansas City Bureau of Investigation, or KBI, takes over, and the sheriff's office becomes the assisting agency. By the 7th, they do their first official search of the property. They bring in dogs and a helicopter, but nothing is found. However, Alonzo is making the local news, especially after an anti-crime group named Move Up tells reporters that they've gotten numerous reports that Alonzo was the target of several racially motivated threats at the party. And like we've seen in many cases now, there's kind of this media battle between the Linn County Sheriff's Office and Move Up. The Sheriff's Office says that there's no indication of foul play, or that Alonzo was the victim of a hate crime, but that they're not ruling it out either. While reps from Move Up keep talking about the information they're receiving to the contrary. By the 10th, the FBI joins the case, specifically because of the likelihood that this was a hate crime. Their main focus is conducting interviews. In total, they have 40 special agents working on Alonzo's case. 10 are stationed at a command post in Kansas City, and the other 30 are divided into pairs to conduct what they estimate to be at least 80 interviews with partygoers. On the 12th, another search team is back at the party house, this time with a special rescue team to search the creek. But again, nothing's found. Now, while all of this is happening, Alonzo's family keeps asking the sheriff's office if they can help in these searches, but they're continually told no. They need to stay away and leave it to law enforcement to search. At one point, they even ask Alonzo's family to stop calling. They say that they'll call them if they have any updates. So Alonzo's family respects their wishes and doesn't participate in any of these searches. Instead, they focus on raising awareness. They print and distribute flyers while wearing t-shirts with Alonzo's face on them. In total, law enforcement conducts 6 searches for Alonzo in the area surrounding the party house, using what seemed like every resource they had, a variety of different dogs, aerial support, and officers did several shoulder-to-shoulder grid searches. They were certain that wherever Alonzo was, he was not on or around that property. So they go back to Alonzo's family and say, hey, we've done all we can with these searches. If you guys want to give it a try, you have our permission. So on Saturday, May 1st, 51 of Alonzo's friends, family members, and volunteers conduct their own search for Alonzo surrounding the party house. And in less than an hour, they find him. At about 2 p.m., a volunteer named Karen Turner was headed with her group to investigate a white shed on the property. But before they could get to it, she sees Alonzo's body on the bank of the creek. Like his boots and his hat just completely in the open, and on top of some brush. She can't believe it. She radios it in to the team, and Alonzo's brother Billy jumps down the bank to confirm that it is his brother. He then runs to the highway to flag down a sheriff's deputy for help. His death is immediately reported as a homicide by the Linn County Sheriff's Office. I found multiple articles to confirm this. On Sunday, the Kansas City Star published an article that said, quote, "The Linn County Sheriff's Department on Saturday determined the case was a homicide," end quote. But by Monday, Sheriff Stites told the media that this was simply a death investigation, and they wouldn't have the results of Alonzo's autopsy for up to 5 weeks. When those results come back, Alonzo's cause and manner of death are determined to be inconclusive.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing is rare for the Keys. And it leads on who they might have been running for.
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
It seems that forensic pathologist Eric K. Mitchell in Topeka didn't find anything that could tell him what happened to Alonzo. He says that there was no indication that Alonzo had been shot or stabbed. There were no broken bones or bone fractures, and no indication of sharp or blunt force trauma. He says it's possible Alonzo drowned, but there was no water found in his lungs. It's also possible he was strangled or something happened to his neck, but says that that tissue was so far decomposed and missing due to animal and insect activity that he couldn't be certain. He didn't know if Alonzo was beat or injured in any way before his death. He didn't know anything other than Alonzo was no longer with us. So let's talk about what we do know. First, Linn County Sheriff Martin Stites says with absolute certainty that Alonzo was not there when law enforcement conducted their 6 searches. They searched that specific area several times. When asked how Alonzo might have gotten there, he says nature had to have taken its course. Many have pointed to the possibility of the water in the creek rising or falling and moving Alonzo to where he was found. I mean, sure, water moves. I can get on board with that. But what I can't get on board with is the idea that Alonzo was in that water for 27 days before he was found. While Dr. Mitchell says that Alonzo's body appeared consistent with one that may have been in the water for that length of time, his family says absolutely not. Billy Brooks, who saw his brother at the scene that day, says he just can't imagine that he was in the water for that long, because it still looked like his brother to him. He didn't appear to be bloated or that badly decomposed. Like he was somehow in some way preserved and then moved to the scene. Now, it's hard to gauge that without pictures, but I believe Billy, especially because Maria came to the table with some hard-to-dispute evidence. In Alonzo's episode of Unsolved Mysteries, she shows us what was found on Alonzo, and supposedly exposed to or submerged in water for about a month. This is pretty shallow water. It's about 3 feet at its deepest, and apparently clear enough to see the bottom. So that's why I say exposed to or submerged, because we don't really know. But somehow, all the paper items in Alonzo's possession were in pristine condition. They didn't even look like they got wet. So these factors, along with the area just being searched so many times prior, makes people believe that Alonzo was moved to this area sometime after his death. That maybe whoever did this thought that they'd be in the clear since police stopped their searches, having no idea that Alonzo's family would be right behind them. Some theorize he was placed in a freezer until the perpetrator felt it was safe. Unfortunately, we and Alonzo's family just don't know. And really, nothing happens after this for a very long time. All of those interviews, finding Alonzo's body, none of it led to an arrest in this case, or any movement at all. 15 years later, in 2019, the KBI officially closed Alonzo's case, saying no crime occurred. But it seems that either out of the kindness of their hearts or, fear of the impending Netflix Unsolved Mysteries reboot that was to feature his case in 2020, the FBI immediately reopened Alonzo's case. And this is really a brand new investigation. They exhume Alonzo's body, and have it taken to the Dover Air Force Base, where an armed forces forensic examiner ruled his death to be a homicide. Just like what was reported 16 years earlier, the day Alonzo was found. Now, they are withholding details about his autopsy out of the best interest of the investigation, but they do say that the forensic examiner found injuries inconsistent with normal patterns of decomposition. Acting U.S. Attorney Dustin Skinnard said, quote, "We knew that Alonzo Brooks died under very suspicious circumstances. This new examination by a team of the world's best forensic pathologists and experts establishes it was no accident. Alonzo Brooks was killed. We are doing everything we can and will spare no resources to bring those responsible to justice." End quote. So I think this is a good time to talk about why this second autopsy was necessary. Because it turns out that Dr. Eric Mitchell doesn't have the best track record. In fact, Mitchell came to Kansas in 1994 after basically being forced to resign from his position as chief medical examiner in a county in New York. He was removing organs without consent from the families of the decedents, and improperly storing skeletons and body parts in his office. It was also revealed that a person who was convicted of creating child sex abuse material was somehow allowed access to a body in Mitchell's possession, so that this man could take a selfie with it. This is in addition to Mitchell's employees being caught taking more selfies in, quote, playful poses, end quote, with a woman who died by suicide. So instead of being fired, he resigns and continues his work in Kansas somehow. But this does follow him throughout his entire career. There have been many overturned convictions due to his actions. It was determined that he likely botched the timeline of a 1987 case that sent a likely innocent man named Hector Rivas to prison. He was awaiting a new trial before he died in custody in 2016. In a 2018 case, it was determined that while he reported that a child's skull was likely crushed by a daycare worker, sending her to prison, there was no evidence to suggest this. Honestly, there are a lot of cases like this. It seems like he just truly didn't know what he was doing, or have any respect for the dead. So he's awful, and that's why the FBI got a second opinion that correlated with what most people thought happened to Alonzo. And again, what the sheriff's office was telling the media happened. Alonzo was murdered. And about 3 weeks before the Unsolved Mystery episode airs, the FBI announces that a $100,000 reward is being offered in Alonzo's case for anyone who could lead them to the arrest and conviction of whoever is responsible. The FBI also confirms that they are looking into his death as being potentially racially motivated, and specifically cite that several witnesses say Alonzo was flirting with a white woman, and that caused drunken white men to want to fight him. They added that some of the racist partygoers also expressed resentment that Alonzo was at the party at all. So they get this all buttoned up before Unsolved Mysteries airs on July 1st, 2020, when most of the world hears about Alonzo's case for the first time. And of course, none of this makes it to the episode because it's too late. Why they didn't include that stuff about Dr. Mitchell because that was not too late, I don't know. But basically, that episode ends with KBI closing the case. Of course, the massive benefit to this is it does majorly propel Alonzo into the public eye. And we start getting a lot of details that never made that Unsolved Mysteries episode. Like, what happened to Justin after the party? Well, of course, we have more conflicting details here. Because according to Rodney English and Maria Ramirez, Justin has changed his story several times. Rodney says Justin never mentioned getting lost, and believes that he may have said that his axle broke that night. So when he hears about the rest of Justin's night, he outright says that he's lying. Now, I will say that this is from an anonymous source from the Daily Mail, so take it with a huge grain of salt. But this person says that they know Justin, and he's never changed his story since his first interview with police. According to this anonymous source, Justin was far from the party when something happened to Alonzo. He says that Justin was able to get his car unstuck after he crashed it into a ditch. He then proceeded to go to a gas station where he was caught on surveillance taking out $200. After this, he and his friend go to a strip club that they are eventually kicked out of. This article also discusses some of the conflicting stories about how Alonzo may have reacted if someone was using slurs against him. On Unsolved Mysteries, Daniel says that wouldn't have bothered Alonzo enough for it to ruin his good time at the party, while Justin says it absolutely would have upset him. And in the article, Rodney chimes in and says outright Alonzo would have been ready to fight and would have never stayed at the party after that. Of course, that is all speculation though. So let's move on to theories.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are... Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team.
And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
What happened to Alonzo Brooks at that party? I will say I think robbery can be ruled out. Alonzo's wallet was not removed from his pocket, and there was a small amount of cash inside along with his ID. Let's contemplate if Alonzo decided to up and leave his life, which I have a hard time believing, especially without his shoes. I think this is a good time to mention that Alonzo recently injured his ankle while playing basketball. He was in pain to the point where he adjusted his socks to provide more support within his boot. I don't think walking away makes any sense. Even if he got a ride, why are his boots thrown out the window? When I first heard Rodney discuss his theory about how Alonzo's items were tossed out of the vehicle driving away from the party, this immediately made sense to me. As if maybe Alonzo's hat and boot were removed and thrown out one window, and in the time it takes for his second boot to be removed, it's thrown out the other, possibly in some attempt to make it harder for Alonzo to run from wherever he was being taken. I will say that online, locals say it's an open secret who killed Alonzo. Many people believe that the girl he was flirting with that night may have been from a very prominent family in the area, who had the power to cover all this up. But again, that is all speculation. So what does law enforcement say? Despite the Linn County Sheriff's Office repeatedly stating that they had no evidence that Alonzo's death was a murder or that he was the victim of a hate crime, the FBI says exactly the opposite. They say Alonzo was killed, and that it was very likely racially motivated. They put so much stock in this that in 2023, they launched a new hate crime awareness campaign focusing on Alonzo. They put Alonzo's picture and information on 7 billboards in the area and on local buses. Alonzo's family has hope that there will be justice. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share Alonzo's case. So much of what's out there about Alonzo is what you find in that Unsolved Mysteries episode that frankly just doesn't tell the whole story. Alonzo and his family deserve for all of this information to be widely known. And as the driving force of much of this investigation, they deserve answers. So please share. As a reminder, Alonzo Brooks was 23 years old when he was killed on the night of April 3rd, 2004, or early hours of April 4th in Cygne, Kansas. Alonzo was black and Hispanic with black hair and brown eyes. He was 5 feet 8 inches tall and weighed approximately 180 pounds. Anyone with information is asked to call the FBI Kansas City office at 816-512-8200, the Tips hotline at 816-474-TIPS, or you can submit a tip online at Tips.FBI.Gov. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The door is open, our emotional support puppies are in, and I am once again asking for your emotional support for one of the puppies. You may have seen on my social media, Mr. Marley had an emergency vet visit on Labor Day, actually. 2 a.m. on Labor Day, he wakes me up, and I'm not really sure why. Like, I just think he needs to go potty. We go outside, and I realize that, oh, I don't want to cry. His spine is like really curved up. He looks almost like a scared cat, like if you drew a scared cat as a kid where their spines are super arched up, that's what he looked like. And he was just so stiff, and I could tell that he was uncomfortable, and I didn't know what to do. Obviously, his vet was closed, and I just wanted him to have relief. So I got him down to the emergency vet at about 5 a.m., and we had to wait for shift change. It was a whole thing. It's fine. But they, long story short, they're still not exactly sure. It looks like he might have some type of like spinal fusion going on that is causing some pain. He definitely has some arthritis. If you guys know, if you've listened for a while, you know that Marley is old. He is 17. He will be 18, oh my gosh, in like a week. So it just is what it is. And I am doing everything I can. He is now on some pain meds, got him on some inflammatory stuff, and at this point, I am making all of his food. I'm doing everything I can. He's getting red light therapy treatments at home now. I'm making his food. I have put toddler rails on my bed so that he can't stumble and fall off. I will forever cater my life to my dogs as much as I can. They did not choose to be here in this house, but they are, and they are our emotional support puppies, so I will do whatever I can. So yeah, hard week. Please send Marley your love. I really do feel, I believe in, I should say, like, good vibes and manifestation and good thoughts. So if you can send those Marley's way, that would be fantastic. Like I said, he's fine. He's still going, I call it like his old man walks, like people at the mall. I worked at the mall for a long time, okay? When you go and you open, you see the people walking around in the air conditioning here in Arizona in the summer is a common occurrence. So that's what Marley reminds me of. He likes to get up and take his walks. He just walks around the house, and has a good time. And of course, it's still so hot here in Arizona. So when he goes outside, I literally put on like a 5-minute timer, and I'm like, that's all you get, man. Not when it's 120 out. We're not playing this game. So long story short, Marley went to the emergency room. He's okay. This is going to be his new normal for a while. He's not in pain, trying to make him comfortable. And please know also, like, my first thing, of course, I was like in tears sobbing, and I asked both vets, the emergency room vet and his normal vet that he's gone to since, oh my gosh, I think he was 3 or 4 years old. So they've known him for like a decade. I flat out said, is this the end? Is he uncomfortable? Is he in pain? Do we just need to do it? Because I never want to hold on to a dog because I love them so much. You know what I mean? So I was like, just tell me flat out, like, is this it? Is his quality of life bad? Like, what do you think? And they were both like, no, this isn't the end. Like, this is just the beginning of starting, like, to figure out these issues with him, and it's not the end. So yeah, that's where Marley's at. Please send love his way, and I'm going to stop talking about it because I don't want to cry. I will say that, the day before, since it was Labor Day, I dropped a new Dark Truth episode about Airbnb. So happy Labor Day, happy traveling, as I tell you about all the horrors and bad things that can go wrong with Airbnb. If you're interested, you can find that on my Patreon for $5 a month. You get all the content over there, and it does support the show. But if you're just interested in that kind of stuff, hop on over there. I am working on lots of other topics to make you feel uneasy in your everyday life. So if you enjoy being uneasy in everyday life and learning the horrors behind things like Airbnb, check out my Patreon. We have a good time over there. We talk about serious subjects, but it's definitely lighter than what we do here. Which brings me right to the case. Because gosh, what a tough case. Let's go through my list. The first thing on my list I have is I do think this is the perfect example of the difference an extremely motivated family and a group of friends and volunteers can make in a case. They found the main evidence in this case. They found the boots, they found his hat, they found his body. And it's just like, as much as it shouldn't have been them, it shouldn't have had to be them, because that's a whole added layer of trauma to this entire traumatizing situation. There's something to be said for a family not just creating media pressure, which is fantastic. Advocacy, media pressure, we know, I love it. They found evidence. They found the main evidence, the only evidence that's really ever been found in this case. So amazing and so touching. And again, they should have never, ever had to go through it. Because I think part of that too is I can't imagine how they feel about, their confidence in law enforcement. Like, how could this not seed this huge doubt in them? If you're the ones finding all these crucial things, I'm sure they're thinking, like, what else did they miss? I don't know. It's just a really tough situation, and I'm so sad that they had to be the people to find those things, but I'm glad that they were found, if the alternative was not being found. All right, you guys, with the media discrepancies, I can't even with this one. It's not that, like, Unsolved Mysteries said the opposite of what was true. They just, like, left so much out. And how they let Dr. Mitchell speak on that program and gave him any credence in any way, I do not understand. I do not agree with. I don't like that. Stop that. I just can't. I can't. It happens all the time where these episodes get so hyped up, and I'm such a skeptic about them that when I go and I find the media, I'm like, aha, I knew it. Why didn't you mention that in the early reporting, they were all talking about how this was a homicide repeatedly? And it was like, I was trying to figure out if all these articles came from one AP News release, but I don't think so, because the articles were different. It wasn't just a reprint of the same AP verbiage that gets put out, because you see that a lot in cases. AP will put something out and then a million people will just, like, blast the same thing. That's not what happened here. They had quotes from the sheriff saying that this was a homicide. This was a homicide. And again, with Sheriff Stites just repeatedly saying that there was no evidence, this was a racially motivated crime. You guys, I found more too. So, and this is like, so I'm reaching for my words today with some of the things that have happened in this case. So, while Sheriff Stites says repeatedly that there's no evidence that this was a racially motivated crime, when he's asked about this, the Kansas City Star in May 2004 asks him, why don't you think that this was racially motivated? Other people say that, they saw things. They saw people calling him slurs. They saw, threats being made. They saw, an altercation. This is what Sheriff Stites says. He says that he talked to all the other Black people at the party, and all those people said that they didn't hear anything. So that's why he doesn't think it's racially motivated. I can't. I just can't. I can't with Sheriff Stites. He's the worst. He's the worst. The absolute worst. I can't even. Now, my last point here that I wanted to say was I found a May 2004 article after Alonzo's remains were found, where his brother Billy said, quote, "There's never going to be any closure for the rest of our lives, but at least we know what happened to him," end quote. And I think it's a good topic to bring up. This is exactly why I don't use the word closure. I think closure has now kind of become more taboo in true crime, especially for families. There is no closure. That's why I always say there's answers. I think closure is almost like making sense of it in a way when things are so unimaginable. like, there's no sense to be made of it. I don't know. It's like this raw, unfair, rough edge for the rest of your life. Like, you can say A led to B, led to C, and that's why it happened logically, but it still doesn't make sense why it was your person, though. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, or if that was way, way out of it. I don't know. But I agree with Billy. There is no closure, but they do have some answers, and I hope that they can get even more, especially with this big push from the FBI, who I'm really glad, honestly, didn't just drop this after the Unsolved Mysteries case. That's kind of what I expected. I mean, let's be real. They heard that Unsolved Mysteries was going to come out, and they were making stuff happen. And I was like, okay, you know, we've seen shows of support before. How long is this going to stay, though? So when I saw that in October 2023, they had this like renewed effort, I was pretty pleased by that. Of course, I don't know what the family says, and if they are not pleased with that, please side with them, not with me. But things look like at least somebody's paying attention, which is more than I can say for those like 15 years where nothing happened in this case. So again, please share. I think, again, there's just so much misinformation about this case and really incomplete information about especially the homicide factor. I can't get over it. They knew right away this was a homicide, and something happened. Something happened for them to backtrack and say, oop, never mind, this is just a death investigation. Sorry. Forget all that stuff our office said about this being a homicide, y'all. Sorry about that. Something happened there. What that is, I don't know. I hope somebody knows. I hope someday it comes to light. Maybe it will. It's very clear that this case in particular is impacted by media pressure, so please share. From there, let's go right into our segment of hope. Let me get my article up. So this is from Marina Silva and Emily Longnecker with WTHR News. And the title is, it's actually a quote. I'm glad the man who did it is where he belongs. Missouri man charged with 1993 killing of Indianapolis woman. So, Dana Jermaine Shepard is charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of rape in the 1993 case of Carmen Hope Van Huss. That year, she was found murdered in her North Indianapolis apartment, and her dad was the one who found her after she failed to show up for work. One of her coworkers called concerned. But thanks to new advancements in DNA technology and a grant from Season of Justice to fund the testing, they've been able to link Shepard to the crime, and her family finally has answers. Oh, I'm so emotional. I always get emotional. It's a long time to wait. That is such a long time to wait. And of course, I am so excited because Season of Justice did help fund this grant. And of course, I am on the board of Season of Justice, which makes me so excited and so proud and so sure of the dedication of my time to that organization. I've been with them for over 4 years now, which is insane. And I believe this is the second grant we ever passed. I've been on the board for 4 years and I can't remember the verbiage. So very cool. I think it's fantastic. And of course, the reason it makes our segment of hope is because her family, you know, I can't say that they have closure again, but they do have answers. And that is more than not having them at all. It's hard because, like, it doesn't make it all better. You know what I mean? Like, making it all better as if it would be if it never, ever happened. So it's hard. I never want to be like, yes, they did it and there's closure and that's it. And we are done here. We did our job. Because no, I know that this starts a like brand new chapter of healing for this family. All sorts of new mixed emotions, combined with old emotions that come up because, again, this happened in 1993. So much love and support to them. But again, it makes our segment of hope because we know that while these criminals who do things, decades ago, think that they might get away with something, They may not, especially with DNA technology and organizations like Season of Justice that help fund that testing. So if you committed a crime a really long time ago and for some reason are listening to my podcast, watch your back, because DNA testing might just be coming for you. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.